Well, Lori, when it comes to what those congressional and legislative district maps look like, well, they're typically drawn by the people who are inside the building behind me, state lawmakers, the governor, even judges sometimes getting involved, and a constitutional amendment would change that.
The leaders have complete control over the legislative agenda, and that really is related to redistricting.
Carol Cunningham with Fair Districts PA says politicians with partisan agendas should not be the ones drawing congressional and legislative maps. Instead, they think an 11-person independent panel should do it.
There would be an independent commission that would be selected through a process partially random, partially screened by the State Ethics Commission and the State Department of State. So to really guarantee that these are people who are not benefiting from maps, they're not elected officials, they're not lobbyists.
Supporters on both sides of the aisle in the House and Senate say the proposed process also prevents partisan redistricting efforts seen in states like California and Texas.
And it's overly politicizing something which I don't think should be political at all. It really needs to be about the people and how the people think about things and the way we kind of can make the system work.
Cunningham says the lengthy multi-year process of passing a constitutional amendment means lawmakers should move to pass the measure as soon as possible.
We're saying this has to pass by Independence Day 2026, so it can pass in the next legislative session as well, so it can go to referendum in time to put the commission in place before the census of 2030.
So this panel would be comprised of 4 people from the largest political party in Pennsylvania, 4 people from the second largest political party in Pennsylvania, as well as 3 people who are independent of either of those parties. We did reach out to legislative leaders, by the way, about this particular proposal. A spokesperson for House Majority Leader Matt Bradford said they are looking into the legislation. In Harrisburg, Tom Lehman, WGAL News 8.